We are back on the Exit 52 podcast, presented as always by Jimmy's Famous Seafood. My name is Jake Louque, and I'm joined on my screen by RDT, by Spenny, as AJ Hawk. This is a bit that is just coming across my desk. I'm not sure if he's going to be talking or not throughout this, or if he's just going to be sitting there with a very distant smile and his eyes just, off in the nether regions of nowhere. Not sure what is going on with that, but boys, how are we doing tonight?
I might smoke a cigar and just sit here.
Yeah, one of the great gigs in all of media that is just not talked about enough. AJ Hawk. I don't know if I've ever heard his voice. He is always in these high-profile, at times controversial clips on the Pat McAfee show. Doesn't seem like he's adding a whole lot in terms of, again, I haven't heard the voice, so not really sure. But he's kind of just maybe lending some presence, maybe a little bit of a bodyguard situation, you could say, with AJ Hawk there.
But I was going to say bouncer-ish.
Yeah, a little bit of bouncer vibes, but we are here. We are in the midst of NFL free agency, but this is the first week where Ravens fans, Eric, you might have some, ability to relate to this, but the Ravens just kind of sit around for the first week or so. Even going back to last year, it took a while for them to get Derrick Henry officially on the books, so I think we're going to be waiting a while for that. We have the Ronnie Stanley re-signing, the Pat Ricard re-signing today, which Spenny and I will get into when we talk some Ravens, probably tomorrow. But we are here to break down some Orioles as spring training has been well underway. We've had some scrimmage games going on between the O's and, other members of MLB, things of that nature. A lot to get into. How are we feeling, boys? Just generally right now, before I derailed you with the AJ Hawk, tangent that I went off on there.
We're good. I clicked on the link that Spenny put in our private chat, not knowing what it was, and it was kind of exactly what I would expect.
Yeah.
We'll leave that for us, our eyes only.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we're good. We're good. Again, Spenny's been hype man Spenny on Twitter is like one of my favorite ones where like he just exudes positive energy, and he's just talking about the weather and how great it is, and he's like, it's great to live in Baltimore at this time of the year, and he's right. And it's crazy that it's 6:22 and we do this every year, but it's like it's sunny outside right now. Holy shit! Like, look at this. Who could have seen this coming?
Probably my favorite time of the year. Sports guys, there's just a lot going on. We've got March Madness starting up right here shortly. Golf kicking in a big swing here with the players. Major season starting shortly after that. And of course, the Orioles are gearing up. And speaking of Spenny, by the way, him appearing on this show, I don't know if that's, I don't know if this should have been cleared. I don't know what's going on, but him talking some Baltimore Orioles after all the shit that he talked about, how he hates them and he'll never talk about them again after the way last season ended and some other things. His beautiful boy Gunnar Henderson dealing with an injury right now. It feels a little untoward for me. I'm just going to throw it out there right now, and we can hash it out.
My opinions now are that baseball is to be passively viewed, and I'm going to try to enjoy it as a passive fan. And if the Orioles win 82 games, I'm happy because it's just nice to have a team to be a fan of in the city you live in. That's my attitude towards the Baltimore Orioles this year, and I'll leave it at that for now and let the boys talk some Sarasota, things like that.
I can't wait until literally game 3 is going to be breaking down. Well, Westberg, he got his shoulder a little bit low on that one. Maybe he's just going to have to square the bat back up and, try to get all the way through it. It's just, I know that's coming, but we can save that for.
It's the TikTok, and Spenny, I know you've seen the video, you've tweeted it, of the guy being like in an NFL game, and he's like, oh, well, we'll get him next week. And then it's like me during MLB season, and it's like game 65, and the guy's like slamming his chair, being like,
unironically,
how can you get this reliever in here? How can you blow this lead? That's
what he was last season. He was like living and dying by every pitch. And then when the Ravens come around and they lose to the fucking Raiders, they go to 0-2. He's like, oh, everyone just calm down. Like I was just like, yeah, like that's absolutely stunning. To be fair, he was right about the Ravens on that one, but that was a perfect.
Baseball is just crazy. You watch them every single day, so you start going mentally insane. If you're really following, you start losing your marbles because you're so interwound with them every single day. And when they have a stretch of stupidity, the run the Orioles went on last year, the stupid defensive baseball they played, watching them kick the ball around every day for like a month and a half, it was insane to watch. It was just crazy. I'm a passive baseball fan now. I'm easygoing. I'm going to switch it. I'll be more intense on football. I'll try my best.
maybe you really should be AJ Hawk, but instead of a cigar, you just like light up a doobie or just a blunt, and you just like lean back and you're like, yeah, man, it'll be all right though. Like, just, like we were saying last year, 10 game stretches. That's how you evaluate them.
So you should.
Okay.
Well,
let's officially get into it. We've got in our first inning here, we've got to go through some unfortunate news, and that is some of the injury issues that the Orioles are currently dealing with. Some injuries to Gunnar Henderson, Grayson Rodriguez, Andrew Kittredge, all to varying degrees of severity. It sounds like Gunnar is not guaranteed for opening day. I'd, in fact, probably at this point be a little surprised if he was out there opening day. They're starting to work out little Jackie at shortstop, which we'll also get into. Grayson, it sounds like it might be a little bit more serious. And then Kittredge had his knee cleaned up, and he's going to be out for a few months. So that is going to be a piece added to the bullpen when the season is officially, into full swing there. So who knows when we'll be seeing him. But Eric, I mean, we'll get into your trip down to Sarasota, but you definitely got your finger on the pulse here. What's kind of your worrying level as far as these injuries go? Because, I mean, going all the way back to a year ago today, we were talking about a lot of injuries as well. And I think they wound up plaguing the club, and they probably led to some of the issues that we were just talking about there. I mean, it's kind of a tough tenor to be approaching opening day with some of these reports coming out.
Yeah, the Grayson one probably worries me the most. I went from not being worried to being like semi-worried. Again, this is now his third injury that we've seen since, I mean, he was knocking on the door to come up, and he has the lat issue that shut him down the remainder of the season. And then obviously we remember the lat issue last year. So he talked about it where they changed his wind up and his motion to kind of take some of the stress off that lat. And then the triceps thing, blows up. And Wednesday was kind of a whirlwind. I'm like getting ready. I'm putting my office up. I'm packing. I got to be asleep at 9 to catch the plane the next morning at 6. But it's like, oh, Grayson threw, what was it? I don't know. He was throwing in like the low 90s, mid 90s. And then they were like, oh, he was throwing 89.5. Like his one pitch was like 89 fastball. And it's like, oh, that's not good. Then they took him out. And again, that obviously gets everyone's attention. And his comments after the game, I think, made us feel a little better, where he was like, oh yeah, I'm feeling a little sluggish. Like I just didn't feel like myself in the bullpen. I couldn't get behind anything. I couldn't get my grips down. And everyone's like, okay, that seems a little bit better. But then it was like, then it kind of just came, and they were talking about the tricep, and it's not his tendon, but it's pain in the back of the elbow and stuff like that. So I'm hoping that it's kind of just maybe an old injury that's popped up out of nowhere. And, they're still, I know they shut him down. He got a cortisone shot the other day. They shut him down 7 to 10 days. So I saw him. He was walking around the field down in Sarasota. I saw his wife down there. My first kind of thinking was too, like, his wife and her family were still there. So they didn't immediately like, hey, we need you to go, like they did with Garrett Cole. We're going to send you to the doctor in LA to go get looked at. Like Grayson was there. He was, running and doing stretches and stuff, but obviously not throwing. But that was my kind of first take on that. So he's going to miss a couple of weeks, it seems like. Maybe that's just, and I don't know if you guys saw Kevin KFC's tweet about how pitchers are now essentially running backs, being like there's a handful of upper echelon. Absolutely, you have to pay these guys. Your Saquon, your Derrick Henry, your CMCs. But these guys are just getting hurt. Like every pitcher is going to get hurt. You're seeing it across the league. We've seen it for years now. It just sucks that again, it's kind of the same guys over and over. We were really hoping for a full healthy year out of Grayson. It doesn't look like we'll get it. And again, it's kind of what makes it worse is like we've all talked about it, that they didn't go out and get the other, another big name. And you don't need an ace, but it would have been nice to get a couple other arms for sure. But that's why you build your depth with Suarez and Sagano and, Povich and Tyler Wells hopefully coming back, and, hopefully Kyle Bradish in the second half and all that stuff. But yeah, that's again, it's a big, it's a big loss for them. We don't know how long it's going to be, but if they can get him back by the end of May or something like that, I would count that as a win. And hopefully he can avoid any other further injury from there. But yeah, the Gunnar was hitting he was hitting in the batting cage today. He said he's going to take ground balls tomorrow. So I didn't see him down at the stadium at all, or at the practice that we went to, but that one doesn't worry me at all. If he misses a week or two into the season, that's fine. No issue there. Again, I'd rather them be way more cautious with something like this than try and rush him out. And, we need him on the orange carpet on opening day. No, we don't. It's again, if he misses 10 games, that's perfectly okay with me. So I'm way more concerned about pitching, obviously, than Gunnar and the lineup.
Yeah, so he's returned to baseball activities today. JCM said that he has started a hitting progression and was fielding some grounders. That was JCM per Hyde. So yeah, it sounds like he's, gearing back up. I think to your point, what I was saying, it seems like not that concerning if he does miss the first week, the first 10 days. That's probably okay. Like I said, they're already working Holiday out at short. They've got Westberg as well and Mateo in the mix. So they've got guys that they can probably weather the storm there. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty concerned about Grayson as well, given all the health issues that we've already had with him, given the fact that I think that's a good comparison by KFC. It's just like these guys are so optimized to throw at such high speeds that human beings should not be able to throw at. And it's just going to, make things difficult for you. And I'd almost have been less worried if it was like the lat flaring back up again. And like, maybe they just shut him down and say, hey, we've got to get this thing fully fixed up. The fact that it's elbow discomfort, that's really worrying to me, especially for a guy that does throw that hard and is that competitive. And, probably, he might've played through stuff last year that we don't know about. I don't know. It just, the Grayson one really worries me. AJ, how are you feeling about these two injuries off the top?
Grayson's just always hurt, man. It feels like they've tinkered with his entire mechanics. And I don't know, he's a hard thrower. He's young, and it feels like the lat's flared up a couple times now. You hate to hear elbow, of course. So in this day and age, it feels hard to hear anything about an elbow and feel positive about it. So to me, it's, proceed without him for months. Like immediately, that's my thought, is that you need to be pleasantly surprised, not begrudgingly disappointed. So, Sagano has been fun. There's some other young, Cade Povich really started to show a lot last year and feels like he came into his own. And it's tough. Rookie pitchers, it's a battle. Young pitchers overall, it's a battle. It's a different beast with these professional hitters. Thinking about the comments that were made last year about how hitters are like, my job is basically to be an umpire and call balls and strikes. I know the strike zone. Like they know the strike zone better than anyone. They're not taking cheese, man. Mm-hmm. So Grayson, very difficult. Gunnar, it's a physical dude. That's why I've always been a big fan of his. He's a physical player. He gives it his all. He definitely is hard on his body. So bigger picture, my kind of philosophy on some of these hitters, man, I would really love to pay some of these guys just for the sake of, I'm sure the Orioles have world-class this and that, but I would love if Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson, who definitely wore down last year, had hundreds of millions of dollars in their bank account and could go get red light therapy, acupuncture, hot plunge, cold tub, freaking sauna, infrared laser beam, sharks with laser beams attached to their heads, like whatever city they're in. I mean, do they have a lot of money? Yeah, but I want these guys able to spend millions of dollars on themselves. And if you want Gunnar to keep being that kind of very physical profile of an athlete, I would love for him to have fuck you money to take care of his body with and get treatment on and have that now as he's younger. I know he's working with world-class guys, but I want the 1% of world-class working with Gunnar Henderson. So, I mean, I'm sure Boris Corp has him hooked up with the best, but I don't know. You're going to a new city. Like I wish there was a $300 million contract on this team that could pay for shit for people. I don't know. It's a stupid thought, I guess, but Gunnar, he's going to figure it out. I remember, I think the beginning of last year, he had back trouble, and the year before that, he had back trouble. That was really,
it's a lot of like, and I think Westy was talking about the soft beds the other day too. Maybe it was Kauser.
Was Westberg, yeah.
Soft bed stuff going on too. It's like, let's get him a nice, like hard mattress topper and just say like, hey, we're not going to have this happen. You're right. And it's like, it probably does in some level come back to infrastructural stuff. And I know it's different in baseball where, facilities are different than with the NFL where it's kind of just all one size fits all. Maybe, Eric, there's been a little bit to talk about what to do with the warehouse. Maybe the Orioles should just buy up some of that, commercial real estate and turn them just into a full physiotherapy, headquarters.
Maybe. And good on you guys for not even uttering the word massage there, Spenny. That was
you know what? It went through my mind, but we try to be classy on this program. Not all of us try, apparently.
Yeah, I'm big ups to you guys. So that was big. And again, they kind of, I don't know. I think they're really, really slow playing it with Gunnar. Again, does Gunnar Henderson need a spring training? Maybe not. He's that good. Again, we've seen
already had one too. I mean, like, he's gotten some action in.
Exactly.
If it's a minor injury, it could have a very positive impact for him playing less baseball.
Exactly. Get him off his feet a little bit. That again, that's perfectly fine. I don't really need Gunnar to play 160 games. I'm okay with 150. I'm okay. I'm perfectly okay with that. And again, some of the other guys they've got. I mean, we saw Levon Soto play shortstop. We saw this guy Vasquez, something. They were making some nifty plays down there. So and then plus again, Jorge walked by us at the open practice. That guy is a tank now. He is massive. He didn't have an arm brace on, nothing on his elbow. He had a shooting sleeve on his left arm, nothing on his right elbow at all. And I'm like, this guy had Tommy John, a couple months ago. So
do we want that?
What?
Do we want him to be shit yoked? I mean,
no, but I'm saying he looked great. He looked in great shape.
Okay. You're saying
he could play in a game tomorrow.
You're like me. You're like me looking at Jadeveon Clowney in that preseason game.
Yeah,
like, man, this guy's an Adonis. He should be swinging.
No, I get that. But no, I mean he looked great. He was running. They had him again taking batting practice. I think he took full infield, outfield. But again, they have plenty of guys if they need someone to step in. Again, it would probably be. I think JCM or one of them was talking about what do you do? Do you put Ramon at third, Westberg at short, and then Jackson at second? You could theoretically put Westberg or Jackson at shortstop, and then put either of the other guys at third and second. Doesn't matter. This is going back to the Grayson thing, though. So again, someone had said to Jacob that this sounds just like Kyle Bradish last year, and he says it's not even close to Kyle Bradish last year. And Jacob said a PRP injection is different than a cortisone shot. Which is meant to reduce inflammation. Obviously, Bradish and everyone else who gets Tommy John gets the PRP. He said Hyde has also said multiple times, and this is also, you have to take it with a grain of salt because we know better than anyone in this town that coaches really like to downplay injuries and not give you an ounce of what's going on. But he said that Rodriguez's discomfort / inflammation is near the back of his elbow, which is not where the UCL is. Again, it makes sense to me, but they could be working their way around it, whatever.
And they also may not fully know. I mean, the scap, I think last year it initially got reported that, maybe they could see him back within a couple of weeks, and then we just never saw him again. And that
they shut it. He was cleared, and they shut him down. He could have pitched in that final week going into the playoffs. And same thing with the big guy, with Felix. He probably could have thrown if they needed him to, but it didn't matter because they scored a 1 run in the playoffs. So unless Bautista or Grayson can hit, he can hit some home runs. But yeah, it's yeah, would have been nice. But yeah, again, I think these are kind of just your regular kind of spring training dings, especially for Gunnar. I think they said he could have played through it if it was, if this is August, Gunnar's probably suiting up and kind of biting the bullet and getting through this thing. And again, they're just going to let him play, get super healthy and train and do whatever he needs. I'm not too worried about that. Bautista coming back from his injury has looked awesome. His location he got hit a little last night, 3 hits, 2 runs, but his speed. I mean, I don't know if you guys watched last night. He was 97, 98. We didn't get to see him throw down in Florida live, but everyone who saw him was like, yeah, this is the speed. I think the command is always the last thing to come back, but the speed being there is fantastic. So again, if he's ready at the beginning of the season, that's great. If he has to miss another week or 2, again, I'm perfectly okay with that. Obviously the Kittredge injury also may play a part into that. That's a big kind of kick in the dick. Him being out a couple months, and they just flat out were like, it's months.
Yeah, his knee got cleaned up in surgery. So yeah, they confirmed he will be out for months. Also, Grayson did officially go on the IL, which I don't think we mentioned, but yeah, Kittredge, that's another big loss. I mean, this is a club that I think has done really well to find diamonds in the rough and find guys that can contribute in the bullpen. But I mean, this was one of those signings that was looked at as, wow, a lot of people, didn't sign this guy. And, he might have been a nice addition for a lot of teams that were contending. And so he wound up in Baltimore, and there had been health stuff with him at previous stops, I think. And so I think I saw, was he with St. Louis most recently?
Yeah. St. Louis,
So I got Redbird Pants fan-sided. The Cardinals appear vindicated after severing ties with Andrew Kittredge. So yeah, it sounds like, maybe some injury concerns in the past there, but overall, I mean, he's just kind of he's found money, I think, at this point. And they gave him $10 million, so you'd hope that you can find that money as soon as possible, but we're gonna have to probably wait a good long while for that. Like I was kind of hinting at there, it's like they tend to make it work in the back end of the rotation and the bullpen, and I don't know. You certainly hope that they're not going to have to be doing that for too long because, like we said, you can only kind of duct tape or, bail water for so long before the ship sinks, as we saw last year with injuries. So you hope the best for him. But yeah, you were getting at it. It's going to be a while, and they're going to have to figure things out. And especially with some of the names that they did lose, like Colum's not going to be there this year. Some other guys are not going to be there to carry that slack. So it's going to be interesting to see what they decide to do. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say about it.
There's other arms they can go out and get, obviously. If they feel that's the best, thing to do, they'll probably do it. David Robertson's out there, a few other free agent arms. But again, I mean, they've got some decent depth. It does stink that like a guy like Chase McDermott, again, he was also hurt. He would have been a nice guy to maybe kind of throw into the bullpen and let him get some innings and get his feet wet again in the bigs. But again, he's behind schedule too. So Trevor Rogers could come back. We saw him down there. He's throwing again. He dislocated his kneecap. They said they said it was like a minor one. It wasn't a major one. But again, these are arms that we were kind of counting on in some way, shape, or form. And they're down a handful now. But again, just like they're down them, so is everybody else. Lucas Giolito left the game today with a hamstring injury. Trevor Story got hurt again up in Boston. Obviously, we know about Garrett Cole in New York, and Giancarlo Stanton's elbows are like. I've never heard of someone hurting their elbows on swinging. That's crazy.
Well, that's basically all he does at this point in his career.
But like you hear about shoulders with swing. Like, how are your elbows? Isn't that like?
This seems like a topic for Dr. AJ Hawk to weigh in on.
Like, have you ever hurt your elbow swinging a golf club? Obviously, they're different style swings. But
yes, actually, yes, I've gotten.
Yes, I have.
Never mind.
I have gotten tennis elbow from playing golf, and then I played fucking what's that game that's not pickleball? It's I think it's called paddle in Mexico a couple years ago. It started to flare up when I was doing that. I was like, all right, I should shut this thing down for a little while, and that's just me.
Well, and then again, they also have Luis Heel, who's out, who's not throwing for at least 3 months. So again, the Orioles are hurt, but so is everybody else. Like that's kind of what made me feel better about it. And that's why I didn't kind of crap and shit all over Luis Heel injury, because baseball gods are real and the karma is real and they will come back. And
yeah, you would never take any shots at the New York Yankees that might come back to bite us.
No, not injuries. Not injuries. I steer clear of injuries.
You are the guy who like, yeah, when that happened, actually, I think I saw you tweet, as an Orioles fan, you hate to see, Luis Heel get hurt. Wishing you the best, speedy recovery, King.
I don't say as an Orioles fan. I just keep my mouth shut. I don't keep it shut often, but I'm staying away from that. Ticking time bomb. So,
yeah. All right. Well, that's injury corner. Anything else we got to hit on?
Trying to think of anybody else who's injured. No, I don't know.
Nothing huge. I mean, yeah, you mentioned Felix working his way back. Nice outing from Suarez recently. So yeah,
he looked great today. Again, they played at 1. They played the Yankees. Interesting thing too, they did. I was just telling my dad about it. Obviously, they played in Tampa at the Yankees spring training facility, which is going to be Tampa's home. And they usually, obviously, again, like this late in spring, and they're not bringing all of their big guys. They usually don't. They sent like 2/3 of the lineup to Tampa today to play the Yankees, so they can get accustomed to that stadium, because that's where they're going to play 6 or 7 times.
What's the status on the Trop?
Do we know? They're not playing there this year. Not this year, at least. They're playing in the Yankee George M. Steinbrenner or whatever, George Steinbrenner Field.
I'll tell you what, Big Stein's going to be hosting the Rays. I'll tell you what, Stanza, you better get down there.
He is. So yeah, I thought that was cool that they did that. And obviously the rumors were always that there's a nice Gulf Stream going out the right field, and lo and behold, Ryan Mountcastle found that Gulf Stream and hit his first home run of spring this year. So
quite the little Tijuana donkey show going on in the AL with the Sacramento Athletics and the George M. Steinbrenner Stadium Rays going on. I mean, what are we doing here?
Here's the thing. Rob Manfred talking. We also, there was a bar we went to down in Sarasota that had a framed Pete Rose card on the wall. So this got us talking a lot. But shout out to Rob Manfred for last week being like, you know what? We're going to revisit the Pete Rose thing. And it's like, hey, brother, you got 2 teams playing in minor league stadiums. Like, we got bigger fish to fry, my guy. Like, what are we doing?
I think your boy, DJT, might have had something to do with that.
I know, but it's like, if I'm Rob Manfred, I'm like, hey, we're going to try and figure out some other shit first before I put a dead pedophile in the the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's almost like everyone's priorities are a little out of whack these days.
Yeah,
Manfred was just scared of getting tariffs put on concessions if he didn't get Pete Rose
in country tariff. It's like if you want to move this hot dog from this side of the hot dog stand to the other, it's 25%.
Crazy. But yeah, so that's what they're doing. They're playing in the Yankees spring training stadium.
What was the most exciting thing in Sarasota? Like, what if you come back and someone was like, what was the best, most exciting thing? What made you feel tickled down there? Orioles wise, and just like for those that haven't traveled down there as well. Of course, the weather, the beach, all that stuff's great.
Yeah. I don't know. We explored a little bit. I'm trying to think. Like Orioles wise, obviously, I think it was just being at Ed Smith. Like it really is an awesome facility, and it's super nice, and it's cool to be able to walk around. And I saw a bunch of like the ushers that I recognized from the game that they were there. Like people flocked down there. It was really cool. About Sarasota itself is kind of a dump outside of it. We almost stayed within walking distance of the of Ed Smith, and I got told like, no, go stay a little bit away. And then when we got there, I was like, you know what? Now it makes sense. You know what? Not surprised me, but one of the best things was the airport. The airport is so small and it's so easy. It's like
always like smaller, and like the second tier cities always have great airports.
Oh, it's great. It was a really good airport. Yeah, it was a good time. So
I feel like the minor league towns, like I kind of get some college town vibes from them. Like it's kind of just all built around one thing, and maybe some things fall a little out of shape. I don't know.
Yeah. There's some interesting parts. Again, I'll fill you in a little at the end, and maybe a little off air as well.
We'll get into all that. So that was injury corner, political corner, all sorts of stuff. And now to just kind of get into some of the guys. Yeah, tariff corner. You wrote down Adley, scorching hot. Good to hear.
That guy's hitting the piss. He's hitting the piss out of the ball. Again, he had a single. I think he was 1 for 4 today. He had a single, 105 off the bat. Again, I know Spenny and everyone else is like, I don't care. Yep. It doesn't matter to me. This is spring. I was saying the other day, I don't really care if the hits are falling. Like we saw a couple guys make some like nice catches in the outfield against the Orioles. But the fact that he's hitting the ball hard, I think he's seen Paul Skeens twice. And I think both times he has hits going the other way against him. That's what I like to see. The like, hey, I'm gonna go with the pitch this way, or like, he's chopping one down into the ground and spiking it up to get on base. That's what I'm looking at. I don't care if he's getting out or hit. These hits just happen to be falling. But the fact that he's hitting the ball hard, he looks great. He threw a guy out the other day. Again, he was one of the first people out there at the field every time we saw him. I've heard with the media, he's like a night and day from last year, being like, just completely taking like, last year was not great. Last year I was bad. It was this, I was that. People I talked to were like, he is a completely changed person. And they were like, it's almost like it was just a hard reset. He had to hold down the power button for 10 seconds and the screen blinked and he's just Men in Black, erased last year, whatever, we're moving on. So I'm happy to see that, because again, he really is the straw that stirs the drink. You saw it in the second half last year. He did not hit. He did not, whether he was hurt or not. And they still won't say anything, but I loved what I was hearing about him. I loved what I saw down there. Again, he's jacked too. He looks in great shape. Not that he was fat or anything like that, but there was a little bit of out of shape talk. There is none of that this year. I don't know if you guys saw Rock's picture of him. They were talking about Tyler O'Neill and how he walks around sleeveless. And then next thing you know, Adley, Ramon, and Ryan O'Hearn all were in the dugout with their no sleeves on, just like
it might be the return of the college hunks. They were the college hunks a couple of years ago, and now that might be coming back. Getting back in shape, getting the beach body together, and I think O'Neill is putting these guys on notice, and it's good. They have somebody to kind of gauge themselves against.
Ramon Urias coming out with no sleeves on, like what? Like I would have never even thought about that, but. Yeah, again, I'm happy to see Adley hitting the ball hard, and again, everything I'm hearing down there is like, yes, this is a good start again to the year. People are going to be like, I don't give a shit about spring training stats. Neither do I. Again, exit velo is what I'm looking at, and things you'll love to see. Like today, they faced Clark Schmidt. He's going to be in the Yankees rotation. It's not like he's not facing, you know, a guy who's going to be working at an insurance company next week. Like he's facing legit guys. So if there's a choice between him not hitting and hitting, I want him hitting, obviously, and you hope it just continues into the season. So
yeah, it's kind of like, I mean, I don't want to, you know, try to delve too much into like his entire life, but you have to think in his baseball life, like last year was probably like the very first significant baseball adversity that he faced, right? I mean, he was just a golden child, Oregon, went to Oregon State, like everything fell into place, you know, 1-1 in 2019, worked his way up, really good first couple of years, and then you hit that first slump, and it's about how you respond to it, which he has talked about. You know, he talked about it last year, and I'm sure we'll get plenty of it going into this year. But yeah, excited to see what we get from him. I'm kind of very much in the optimistically, you know, holding, you know, cautiously optimistic with Adley, and hope he comes out of the gates firing. And we've got our resident Adley hater and skeptic here to pour cold water over all of that as well.
I just don't want to see him pop up anymore. I'm just hit the ball the other way, go back to what you're doing, reset. I like all of that.
That's fair. I think like I just need to see a lot less of like knee in the ground, bat contorted at, you know, diagonal spine on a strike 3. You know, I don't need a ton of that to start out the year. I think
I didn't see one knee
the
swing.
ghostly, ghoulish color of his skin at the end of the season. Like, was his like, are you okay? Is your diet okay? Are you all right? Are you mentally okay? Do you need to talk to someone? It like looked awful. Looked,
especially for a guy who was like the polar opposite of that, like his entire time here, all the way through his time through the minors, and then his first couple of years, he's you know, he's the face. Like we have often talked about, Gunner's the engine, but Adley's kind of the captain steering the ship, and he's got to have better body language, and he's got to better reflect that. And I think based upon what we're seeing now, it seems like he has that in his heart and his head, and hopefully we'll get some early results off of that. But again, that's just kind of a wait and see thing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
What else do we got here? Mountie and Cowser, you wrote them down as also kind of smoking the ball here. You made a note about Cowser's attire choice as well that I'm sure you're champing at the bit to get into.
Well, so again, Mountie with the home run today. I think Colton had 2 hits as well. But again, they were, you know, hitting the hell out of the ball. And yeah, when we saw them the first night versus Skeens and on Thursday, I could see that they were both wearing fighting necklaces, which are making a comeback. That was my whole point. I'm here to say that they're making a comeback.
These college, I mean, these guys they're wearing their little puka shells, and they're, you know, walking around.
Literally shark teeth necklace they were wearing during practice. Ryan didn't wear his because he said he didn't want to dive and have it stab him in the trachea.
Ryan's also he's kind of the elder statesman. I don't know if he needs to be following these guys down their little Gen Z, you know.
Yeah, but no, again, those are 2 other guys where we saw obviously Cowser was, you know, incredible to start off, and then kind of hit a patch and you know, got it back a little bit, and then obviously the only thing anybody wants to talk about is the broken hand in the playoffs, and you know how he couldn't hit a changeup and
chief among them, by the way, one of our co-hosts who just took a completely unnecessary shot at him and Nick Martin.
Yeah, that was I was shocked at that in the text message.
Initials,
yeah,
DB,
you know,
we don't have to air him out, but it was just a disgusting comment.
Yeah. You know, and Mountie too. You know, Mountie had a tough year last year. He was hurt. He missed a couple games, and I mean, obviously, you saw that power get sapped away. So he's hitting the ball hard again. That's all I'm looking for this spring. Are you hitting the ball hard? Is, you know, if it drops, that's perfectly fine. But if not, it doesn't really matter to me. But again, they're positives that I'm seeing out of those guys, and it's just, again, those are 2 other guys where not that they're going to carry the team, but those you're going to need Ryan Mountcastle to have 20, 25 home runs this year. You know, bringing the wall in, I don't think it's crazy to think that. You know, Cowser had 24 last year. You know, I would love to see Cowser a 20-30 guy, 25-30 stolen bases and running more. And they talked about that. But yeah, and you know, Cowser he had an interesting game on Saturday where he got on, there was a pickoff throw to first. He dove back in and came up holding his left hand like this, and shaking his hand. And all of us literally yelled out, "Oh my God, no." We didn't know if he got hit with the ball on the throwback. We didn't know if he dove back into the base and got his arm all crunched up, or if he got stepped on. Turns out he got stepped on. Then like 2 pitches later, steals. It was 3-2. It was a ball. So I think it was Mountcastle walked. Somebody behind him walked. He would have been out by 40 feet anyways, but it was a walk, so it didn't matter. Then he ends up getting the third, and then he gets thrown out at home on a a double play. But it was an interesting trip around the bases for him. But again, I mean, they're hitting the ball hard. I'll talk about stuff in Sarasota that I saw Kowser working on later on when we do the full wrap up. But again, I'm encouraged by all of it, and he had 2 good looking hits today against major league pitching and not guys who are going to work at AT&T soon. So it's always good to see.
A lot of shots at these guys just trying to.
No, they're not shots. They're not shots. It's just they have to realize that they're not going to be big league pitchers.
Oh, good. Maybe you'll be the one to tell them. Maybe you'll sit them down and explain that to them.
I'll be the Grim Reaper. What do they call it in the first Hard Knocks?
The Turk.
The Turk, right? I'll be the Turk.
They still call it the Turk.
I'll come knocking on doors. I got no problem doing that.
Okay.
Yeah. But they're wearing fightins. Colton said that they. I saw him, Westberg, and Mountie wearing them, and he was like, I don't know. They sent a big box to the clubhouse, and we're all just putting them on. So the Orioles have to do some kind of fight and giveaway, or it's 2006 all over again. So.
It's going to be, I think they're probably taking their cues from the acclaimed film Surf's Up, which is big among the Gen Z crowd. I happen to know.
Well, and next thing you know, you remember going to the mall and they would have the guy at the kiosk who would he would ask you to stand on one leg and then push you over. And then he would put the aluminum bracelet on you and try and push you over, and he couldn't do it. And that's what's going to be next.
Those things were provocative. I'd like to get my hands on one of those again and really test out the science of those.
The guy at Towson Mall used to do them all the time.
I was there actually the other day. I went to Fogo in Towson, saw a movie.
Ooh, delicious.
Oh God, it was great. It's a great deal too.
I didn't know there was a Fogo at Towson Mall now.
Yeah, it's on York Road. It's like right as you're coming up to the roundabout. I
haven't been to Towson since I graduated.
We got to get you back up here. That's it's my neck of the woods now. Treat you to a little Fogo. What do you think?
We'll see. We'll flip me to green.
Okay.
Don't fill up the salad bar, Spenny.
Yeah, I mean, they really do. And I didn't. I really paced myself. I chewed my steak very slowly. I was really proud of my performance, actually.
Good. Hell yeah, brother. Proud of you.
Then we went and watched a 2-hour movie, and that movie theater hated to see us coming. I'll just say that. Stock report on little Jackie, working it short in the absence of Gunner. How's everything looking with our sweet, beautiful boy?
2 opposite field hits last night. Again, in Bradenton versus the Pirates. Again, things you like to see. Did have an error, but again, somebody was like, "Oh, look, it's just like Gunner's still back at shortstop because of all the errors Gunner had last year." But yeah, I mean, again, he seems, I'm liking everything I'm seeing. I didn't like the Boris Corp shirt that he put on immediately after the game. That was a little Garrett Cole-ish after the World Series. But yeah, again, I mean, it's pretty obvious. There were some rumblings oh, I don't know if Jackson's going to make the team out of spring. He's making the team. He's on the roster. He's there. Again, it was funny, watching everyone come out before the game. They would have their bag and their bats and their glove and something underneath, and they're walking out. Jackson would just straight up walk out with his glove, nothing, no bag, no bats, no nothing. So I don't know what the deal was with that, but yeah, again, he's hitting pretty well. Again, like we talked about a couple of weeks ago, I don't want him to hit a $160, and I don't want him to hit 570. I was just maybe 280, 290, and I think he's right around there. So, because again, the pressure is off him. He doesn't have to hear that, number 1 prospect in baseball, blah, blah, blah. He can just kind of go out there and play now. He had a quote last night too. They asked him about Basayo's home run. And he showed personality in it. He didn't do that a lot last year. And again, I think it was a little nerves. And again, there was a 20-year-old kid who had every microphone and camera shoved in his face. He was kind of funny in the interview, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I've seen him do this plenty of times, and I don't know if they have the metrics on it, but if they do, they're wrong." And I think it was one of the reporters was they said it was 403 feet, and he was like, "Yeah, that's not even close to right." And we just didn't see that from him last year. So I was like, okay, I think he's getting more comfortable now, and I think he legitimately was telling jokes in the post game. So I think that's a great sign for him. And again, it's this guy's going to be in the lineup, pretty much every day going forward. So this is his time now. This is his go time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you're spot on there with the age. Like, it's easy to forget how young he still is. He can finally have a beer, and it's like, it's just like
glass of wine.
Glass of wine, right? Yeah, excuse me. Or a champagne bottle with water in it. But yeah, I mean, it's like it's just an interesting trajectory to live your life on. But even with all of that media attention and everything that's going on around him, like, I was a completely different person at 21 than I was at 25 than I am now at 29. Like, it's just like, you completely change over that course of time. And I mean, he's going to be ready to get, a big contract by the time he's 25, 26, God willing. And he'll be a completely different person then than he is now. But yeah, it's nice to see the incremental sort of personality come out. And I think it's like we were talking about with Cade, last month or whenever that was, where it's just a lot of big personalities in this clubhouse already and a lot of people ahead of you. And then little Jackie was kind of that next guy in line as far as the uber mega prospect. So he had an even different experience than Cade. So that'll be fun to watch. And I think you're right. We're just looking for consistency out of him. I don't necessarily need him to have these pockets where he's hitting, 5 home runs over the course of 2 weeks and then goes quiet for a month. I'd rather just him, hit, 20 to 25, ideally, and have a nice batting average and a good OPS and be good in the field. And especially if he's going to have to be starting at short or whatever the plan is going to be there, I think him showcasing versatility would be exciting too.
Well, somebody had a good point too. I forget which one of the beat writers it was, but it was right after Gunnar got hurt. Like last night, I think was Jackson's first start at shortstop this spring. And somebody was like, it was Levon Soto starting there. And it was this guy Vasquez. I forget his first name. But they were like, if Gunnar was hurt and was going to be out, they would be Jackson would have been there last week. Jackson would have been there a week and a half ago when this thing popped up for Gunnar, because again, they would have been like, we need to get him every rep we can at shortstop, game action on the practice field, yada, yada, yada.
I think it's Luis Vasquez, by the way, so we don't.
Luis Vasquez, yeah. So again, he's 52, right? Is that his number?
I'm looking right now. Born 1999.
RBI double 2 days ago.
Yeah. So he made some nice plays down there. But again, somebody was like, the fact that they're not just being like, okay, we have to get Jackson in there right now because we need him to take every ground ball and rep at that position. It seemed like that was a good sign. And even Jackson had like a quote the other day, and they asked him, he was like, I like, if they need me at short, I can play short. But he's like, I hope Gunnar is there. He's like, Gunnar will be there. And like, I hope he's there. And like, I hope I don't have to play short, not in like, I can't play over there. I don't want to be there. Just being like, we're a better baseball team with Gunnar Henderson at shortstop. And I think, nobody in their right mind is going to dispute that. But, and then, somebody asked him like one of his goals or something. He's like, I want to win a gold glove. I want to win a gold glove at second base, which again, as a 21-year-old kid who was touted and hailed as like, this is a can't miss prospect. And look at this home runs. Look at all these home runs he's hitting. A 21-year-old kid is usually going to be like, I want to hit 50 home runs. I want to hit 150 RBIs. He's like, I want to win a gold glove at a position that I switched to last year. Like, again, that mentally, that seems like he's in a very good place and like has these goals set that we usually wouldn't see from someone.
He's mature beyond his age.
Yes. Yeah. And you can tell, like, obviously he grew up in the clubhouses and we knew that, but this is where it's like coming out where he's like, yeah, where am I playing? Second base? Yeah, I want to be the best there. Not being like, well, I mean, again, we loved Manny, but what did Manny do? I'm a shortstop. I want to play shortstop. I deserve to be at shortstop. Gunnar Jackson's like, hell, second base. Yeah, that's fine with me. Second, I feel like second base is kind of looked at as like a dimpy little, like, you can put anybody there. They had Adam Frazier there a couple years ago, but with him, he's like, yeah, I want to play there, and I want to win a Gold Glove if I'm going to be there. So I love to hear that from him. So
speaking of all that, what's the status on my favorite elder millennial helicopter parent, Matt Holliday, wearing the tight shirts and talk about fighting necklaces and fitted hats and Maui Jim sunglasses that are all white. What's the Matt Holliday status?
I didn't see him down there. I didn't see him at all. So no helicopter parent there. I watched the Orioles put out that Jackson documentary, like 25-minute video a couple weeks ago. I saw him in that, but I haven't heard a peep out of him, this offseason.
That might be best for everyone. All due respect to Matt Holliday, seems like a nice guy, but let's maybe get him out of the picture a little bit.
I don't think he was ever overstepping a welcome or anything. I think he's doing good from afar.
Okay.
Instagram follower of mine.
Of course, yeah. So definitely don't want to besmirch his good name. Yeah, I think it would be good for everyone if little Jackie can kind of forge his own name here, which we're all excited about. Speaking of exciting prospects, El Buffalo. What's the story on this guy? He's just hitting bombs everywhere. It looks like Adley's kind of talking him up a little bit. It's exciting stuff here with Sam Basayo.
Again, did you guys see the home run he hit last night? The one off the like green shed in Bradenton. That was a bomb. And again, Statcast at 403. Jackson was like, "Yeah, that ain't it. Like that's just wrong." We see that a lot with Statcast where the ball's like 15 rows deep in the third deck and they're like 417 feet. It's like, no, you're high. But yeah, I think I watched him last night. A ball came in. Challenged they called it a ball. It was not clearly a strike, but he challenged it straight away. It was like, challenge that umpire. They reviewed it. Boom, he's right. So Spenny, you were talking about it. Like these guys know the strike zone better than anyone. Like that's their job. That's all they're put on this earth to do. And Hyde had some good comments about him today, and he was like, he walks around the field like he's a major leaguer, which is sick. That's great for him. He's going to be up here. I don't think anytime early this year. I think maybe we'll see him get a cup of coffee and a couple of bats, but I think he's starting somewhere opening day next year. I'm pretty sure of that. I don't know where, obviously, but he'll be there. We only saw him take, I think, like 1 or 2 at bats, and I think he swung in the first pitch on both of them on Sunday when I saw him. But his size is very impressive when you see him up close. He's a big boy. He is a tank. So. It's just exciting. He's still up here again. We're 2 weeks, almost 2 weeks away, I think, from opening day, and he's still up here with the club. So they're giving him looks against these guys who are pitching against him, who will, most of the guys that he's seeing will be on major league teams. So Hyde seems to really like him, and he fits in. Somebody else that had a good point too, and they were saying how Chirinos is really going to help him. A Latin catcher. Who's really good on defense and stuff like that. So this is kind of the same thing with him. But yeah, it's been fun to watch him this spring. And again, there's no like he has to make the team out of spring training because it's not going to happen. We all know that.
See him for a while. We've got they got El Gary for this express purpose. They got their backup catcher. There's absolutely no rush with this guy.
No, that's what somebody tweeted me last night. And they were like, "What are the chances we see him by the end of April?" I said 0.0% chance. I said, we're not like, we just did this last year with Jackson, and we all bitched and complained like, why isn't he making the team? Why isn't he making the team? He should be up there. And then when he didn't make the team, we flipped our shit. And then when he came up, way too early, everyone was like, oh yeah, this guy stinks now. So that, chances are that same thing was going to happen. Like, again, he's 20 years old. Like he is a child. So again, it's just awesome to see him up there and what he's doing and how he's hitting. And again, there's no real, like Jackson had the pressure on him last year, like have a good camp and you'll make the team. And it didn't happen, but with Basayo, it's kind of like, go out there and have some fun. And we'll see you sometime during the season. And then let's run this back next spring training. So.
Yeah, definitely will not be making the type of impact that the newest Baltimore Raven, DeAndre Hopkins, will be making.
When did that happen?
Just coming across the wire now from our guy, Baltimore Sports Providence, called my attention to it from Ian Rappaport that he has agreed to a $6 million 1-year contract. I know AJ Hawk is just absolutely raring to go to talk about that signing.
What do you think?
It's the Des Bryant of Michael Crabtrees of Odell Beckham's.
There's Seth Roberts of
Oh, come on. There's name pedigree here.
There was another one too.
There was
another one.
Willie Snead, things of that nature.
Willie Snead, that's what I was thinking of. Yes, Willie Snead.
Good player.
Yeah. The Smythe.
Past 10 minutes you guys talking about. I think that's what's the most exciting thing about the Orioles right now. Like I'd probably say those two, like Basayo and Jackson Holiday, right? Like you've had so many young guys. Cowser's second in rookie of the year. Jordan Westberg is looking like a potentially plus starter. You've got Gunnar. You're hoping Adley rebounds. All this excitement, and then like Eric, you just brought up like Jackson Holiday last year. People disappointed he didn't make the opening day roster. It was so funny because he is over like a full year ahead of schedule as a high school 18-year-old number 1 overall pick. And that's the cool part about drafting shortstops. Like what you talked about, when you draft shortstops, you have probably good defensive replacements in case of emergency everywhere. The Orioles have 4 or 5 guys that were drafted as shortstops that are playing elsewhere. And not that they could play good, MLB shortstop, but they can probably be competent in a couple different places. I mean, even I wouldn't be shocked if Ryan Mountcastle could turn out some okay third base, even
shortstop.
So. Exactly. So those guys, I think those are the most 2 exciting things. Like, I don't know. I think the question, like, what makes this year a success for the Orioles, considering they lose Burns, they're banged up heading into the regular season. Like, Jackson Holiday hits 280, has a over 800 OPS, and like looks like the number 1 overall pick in what should be, like, this year should be his first actual taste of MLB baseball. And he already completely failed, already went through the trials and tribulations of that, went back, adjusted mechanics for the big league, got rid of the big kick, all that stuff. So it's like the most exciting thing, I think. And then tracking Basayo still. Basayo's like the last monster that they have really in the minors, like young ascending monster from that group of we're not quite contenders yet. Like, he was literally the last one, and shit, man. I mean, he could be the best of every single player on this roster. He could be like, he's showing that type of prolific power and maturity as a catcher at 20. It's awesome. It's fun. That's the most fun thing about the Orioles is probably those 2 players right now.
Yeah. And I mean, still some guys there that have some stuff to figure out. I mean, you were in the group chat. I won't fully air out what you were saying, but maybe not too high on Mayo right now as an example. So like, it's good to have other guys that you can kind of climb on to.
I mean, I'll say it. I think Mayo looks, he looks like a baby deer running bases, playing the field, his swing. He's a lanky, tall. He's not as young as those guys, but he's not, his beard's not fully grown. He looks like he's still kind of like his coordination is still coming together as a grown man a little bit. So, Mayo, anything you get out of Mayo is probably a huge positive, but looks a little awkward still. Probably a lot to fix. He has showed, like you mentioned, Eric, like at the end of the day, when you can produce consistent exit velo like he did in the minors, you can probably figure it out. Even if it's not in Baltimore, somewhere else, you can probably get some sort of success out of Kobe Mayo, strictly out of the ability to hit the ball really fucking hard at a level that 0.0007% of the world can. So, we'll see. He's an interesting one to watch. I could see him bouncing between Norfolk and the Orioles a lot, between Baltimore and Norfolk. I think he could be that kind of player right now. Injuries might open up an opportunity for him, and that might not be a bad thing for him to kind of start to get pissy and have some fire under his ass being in Norfolk at some point here, and then like starting to figure it out, getting everything right, and then an injury at some point inevitably opening up some potential for him. Like, it kind of reminds you of Norby in a way, right? Like Norby was definitely a prolific college player, a little different body type, different type of player, but it's like, it was having a good player that's chomping at the bit. I think it can be a good thing. And maybe we end up seeing Mayo traded similarly, but yeah, interesting stuff.
Questions from Uncle Taylor Smythe, thawing out from that Chicago winter. Does Bradfield find a place to factor in, or is he a year away? Underrating a potential Adley revenge season. We kind of already talked Adley. So where's Bradfield in the mix in all this, RDT?
I think he's a year away. I think he's your opening day center fielder next year. Cedric's going in the last year of his deal. And again, I know I talked to somebody who told me that teams were chomping at the bit to try and trade for him, for Bradfield, being like, we want to build a package around him. And again, obviously that never developed, but they also said that he could win a gold. He would have won a Gold Glove in center field last year. He's that good where he's playing a major league center field. He's that good. Again, he's a guy who can steal 60, 70 bases if he gets on enough. But again, that's kind of the story. He's got to find a way to get, to get the average up, the on base percentage up. And then again, once he's the Gerard Dyson of 2014, when he gets on first, he's stealing, and there's really nothing you can do about it. You can't stop him, and that's how fast he is. I think he told Brendan Mortensen from Aston at the Caravan event, or he said something, I forget when, but he said that he somehow got faster this year. So again, that's another interesting thing. But yeah, I think he's the opening day center fielder next year, barring injury. And I'm excited to see him too. If he could just get the back going a little bit, he could be a very, very, very fun player to watch.
Okay. Well, I think that's a good run through the group of guys that we are currently tracking throughout spring training. One little fun tidbit here as
Heston,
go ahead.
I was going to say Heston's another one. Heston's hitting the ball hard. He's having another like solid season or spring training that no one's really talking about. And again, this is kind of the shit or get off the pot time for him because there's a spot out there. There's no Tony Taters blocking him. There's a spot out there, against right-handed batters, and they need that outfielder, and he's going to be there to take it. And again, he's kind of got to figure it out. Like I said, he's an older guy, like we've talked about, such a weird MLB career for him already since getting drafted and the sickness and all that stuff. And this is kind of his time, and you kind of have to see what you have in him now. But again, he's hitting the ball hard. He's going the opposite way. And those, if you can hit the ball hard, like Spenny said, and also if you're hitting the opposite way, I feel like that tells me all I need to know about you as a player. Like Mountcastle is the best when he's going the opposite way or when he's going up the middle. So again, Kerstad's another guy who kind of has some pressure on him, and he's kind of living up to it this spring. So I am excited about that as well.
Yeah, another fun like younger guy storyline to track.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he was hitting well. He looked. I mean, he's no spring chicken as a prospect, but he looked good until that incident.
He just needs to he needs to lift this injury curse that has been plaguing him for 6 years.
And again, the injuries, it's not like they're his fault. He gets COVID, myocarditis, and he gets hit in the head with, so it's like, it's not like he's not it's
not an ACL and an elbow and a shoulder and ligament damage.
We're not talking soft tissue injuries, being like, oh, here it goes again. Every time he gets cold, he pulls a hamstring. Like Clay Holmes tried to put 98 through his ear hole. Like, it's not his fault, That's right. So he's been bad luck, Brian, his whole career so far. So
it's time to turn into scumbag Steve. And I don't want you to be the guy in the PG-13 movie. I want you to be the guy in the rated R movie. Goes out there and gets it. Fun little bullet here as we enter the 7th inning stretch. The all orange unis. What are we thinking, Eric? I know you're a big fan. I'm liking them a lot too.
I like them. I think they look good. I like them even better with the like legs pulled up, the socks and the cleats out. I think it looks good. Again, it's a lot of orange. There's no doubt about that. But I don't know. Change is good. Nobody really liked the City Connects the first time around. I like them with the white pants, but I'm a big uniform and like optics guy. So anytime we can mix in a new kit, a new set of unis, that really gets me going. So I like what I see out of them, and they are so bright. They're not like any other orange I've ever seen. They are like the brightest orange ever. So I like them. I think they look good. I don't know. I forget what hat they were wearing with them, but I know people were saying that they need to come up with a new hat. What hat were they wearing? Okay, just the normal orange, or the normal black one. I don't know. Maybe they tried the 3-panel one or something. The white old bird and the black on the sides. I don't know.
I think we need to take the Orange Crush thing back from Denver. The Orange Crush, it's a Maryland thing. Denver kind of, they tried to make it their thing, 30 years ago, but it's time to return home. Those are the Orange Crush unis. I'm deeming them now.
Yeah, I like that. Orange Crush Fridays or something like that, instead of City Connect Fridays, but Orange Crushes give me heartburn. So
yeah,
I will not be participating.
Changing the mojo. Yeah, I think we need to do that. Oh, you're not an Orange Crush guy.
I get heartburn. The acid, the acidity.
Got to take some Tums with you, Playboy. Put them in a fanny pack.
Yeah, but that's a lot. It's a lot to do,
Grapefruit Crush, way less stomach intensive. Highly recommend.
I figured that would be more.
I just promise. I promise from personal experience, it's not as heavy on the tummy. Orange is the worst.
It's not my stomach; it's my esophagus and it's my throat that's on fire.
Well, it's your stomach shooting stomach acid into your esophagus.
Yeah, that's true.
The worst thing you can have if you have heartburn is orange juice in any format. It is a nuclear bomb.
Orange juice, I love. I can have orange juice.
For all the fellow 30 somethings as our primary demographic listening, I have the fix to heartburn. I have it. Eat a lot of apples. You can look it up.
I'm allergic.
Fuck. Well,
Sorry, go on. Sorry, go on. Go on.
Was apple
There's
cider
a fact
vinegar.
that I learn about you like literally every other week that I'm like, what the fuck? Like there's an RDT fact just waiting around the corner every time I turn my head that just makes me.
I don't like die. Like I won't like keel over and die, but like my throat will itch and like I'll get the feeling in my ears. You know, like I can.
Yeah,
so
it's
that's
called
that my eyes will like
an
close shut.
allergic reaction is what they would call
Yeah,
that.
but like I'm not like I need an EpiPen right now. I like when I cut apples for JoJo, like my eyes will swell up and I'll be like, all right, well, time to well, when have we ever talked about apples, Taylor?
Actually, I was listening to Heidecker was on Santino's podcast, Whiskey Ginger. They were talking about I think Santino or Heidecker, one of them is allergic to apples too. You should listen to that.
All right. Well, I don't like Santino, but I like Heidecker. So
why don't you like Santino?
I
You like that Dave show, don't you?
Yeah, he was good on the show. I don't like him as a comedian. His podcast, I don't think it's funny. Like I didn't think he was good on Pardon My Take. I don't know his character as a person. I don't know.
He like stay. I get it. I think he's funny, but he stays in a bit kind of.
Yeah. It's like
the same tonality all the time.
Yes.
That like snide, sneering kind of thing. It's like
exactly.
He's got one. He's got a fastball and nothing else.
Yep.
Absolutely. I like the. I like my ginger buddy.
No, not for me.
I think he's funny. Well, that sucks. But if you're not allergic to apples, like Eric, eat apples and also do apple cider vinegar. 1.5 ounces apple cider vinegar, 2 ounces of water, and just take it like a shot every morning for like a week, and you won't get heartburn anymore. I swear to God, it is amazing.
Interesting.
So there's your fun fact of the day.
I'll have to try that maybe.
What is this gonna go on with this bullpen? Like, what is gonna be this bullpen?
I think they'll be fine. I think they'll be good. You know, again, Sir Anthony is a cause for concern. I think he faced a Rays team that was not starting many. Or he faced a Rays lineup that had a lot of blanks where the last name should be in Sarasota, and he gave up the cycle in an inning, and he gave up 5 runs on 5 hits. Single, double, triple, home run. There was one other thing in there. So he was getting tormented by a AAA Rays team, which was not great to see. But again, you know, I thought CNL looked good when I saw him. Cano seems to be money. I'm trying to think who else. You know, I don't know if Big Al or Povich is going to be there. It sounds like Povich is behind Albert in the starting rankings, but I don't know. I mean, if Felix is back, that is a massive Band-Aid on said bullpen. And again, Kittredge, obviously, you know, that loss stinks, but you may be able to get a guy again from AAA. I don't know who it's going to be. I mean, hell, they have Zach Fruit, who's throwing 100 miles an hour. He's probably a name that not a lot of guys know about or have heard, but he looks to be, again, this is a team in a pitching lab who made Austin Voth, made him a lot of money when he signed and turned him into a pretty damn good pitcher for a couple years. Same thing with CNL Perez. Same thing with Felix Bautista. Same thing with Ynier Cano. This team just finds, and you know, the pitching lab and the guys around it, everybody working on this team, they find usually one guy a year. You put in the bullpen and be like, who the hell is Danny Coulomb? Came out of nowhere. And we're like, who the hell is this guy? And then he just turns into nails. You know, Keegan Aiken. You know, again, he had a good year last year. Look for him to get more high intensity, you know, high leverage spots, but I think the bullpen will be pretty good. And it seems like that is kind of how Elias is building this team. Like starters, let's kind of get through 5, maybe 6, and then hand it over to the bullpen. And let's see, you know, if we can score enough runs to get it to the big guy and go from there.
Can I make a negative prediction?
Yeah.
I just know that, like, I can just feel that Ynier Cano is not going to pitch well this year. I don't know. I feel like he fatigued earlier. He had that great year 2 years ago. I'm worried about that. The injury to Kittenridge is tough. I mean, it was a bit of a cocaine train with Yenny last year. I mean, there were some starts that got my. I mean, you want to talk about heart, you know, concerns. I can see it. But if he can even pitch to that level, I think the whole thing with the elbow slot and the arm angle and the clock and all that, like, it feels like he wore down. I don't know. And maybe he hit this offseason really hard, whatever. I have no idea. I don't know. Him and CNL both downward kind of trajectory. And then you throw Sir Anthony. I don't know. I'm bullish on Sir Anthony. I don't care. He throws fucking cheese. He throws hard as shit. Him and Soto both, like, fine.
Soto,
I like having a couple
playing out of position to, you know, for parts of the year. Like, you know,
Not having to be a closer with Felix back, you get those guys into lower leverage situations is not the end of the world. And Sir Anthony being able to pump 100 and Soto being able to really pump 100, I am fine. I'm fine with those two.
I'm with you on that.
Sixth inning, you have Cade Povich throw 5 innings, give up 3 runs, and then you can bring in someone that throws 100 for 4-6 batters. Like that's fun. That's
Spenny,
fun.
you and I were talking about it. We've been itching for that fuck you fastball guy. You know, that's all we need is that guy that just can come out of the bullpen and absolutely hit you with 100 or 101, and you know, and that's even before you get to Bautista. So yeah, that's I know Soto maybe Soto can be that guy, but like you said, Sir Anthony throws gas. He really has to. I don't know, because again, he's good. He's good for a bomb. It seems like almost every game or every other game. So you kind of just hope that that's a spring training thing, and you know it doesn't follow him up to Toronto.
Absolutely. All right, ninth inning here. We're coming into the bottom of the ninth, and it is time to talk about RDT's maiden voyage down to Sarasota, Florida. Tell us all about it. You hopped on a plane Thursday morning. Is that right, or was it Friday morning? What was the early time?
Thursday morning. Got down there. We landed.
You and Big Ben and Uncle Street, just taking on the town.
Yep. Again, we had talked with a couple of friends for like years, being like, "Oh, we should go to spring training," and we could never figure it out. And then one day we were just like, "Screw it, we're just gonna get an Airbnb for like 4 people. If we add one, we add it. If not, whatever." So, and we just ended up going down. And if you have not been down there, I highly suggest it. It was awesome. Again, the ballpark is just right in the middle of Sarasota. You make a left turn, you make a right turn, and boom, it's right there. So long, Spenny. But yeah, it was awesome. The games are great. It's at 7,600 for like an attendance. Saturday was a sellout, I believe. Thursday night was a little cold. Again, we get there, walk right into the very long day, but walked right into the ballpark. And again, I'm bumping fists with Tom Crean and Jack Harbaugh, and that was the most random thing ever.
Was there any sort of conversation that happened there with Uncle Tom?
So we're walking down to the bullpen because again, it's like high school where you can kind of see, or like I guess the minor leagues too, where like you can lean over the bullpen and like see everyone, talk to everyone, do whatever. So before the game, we walked down there. I said hi to some people from the team. I saw Adam, talked to him. It was great. Adam was down there until Friday. He left, but he was in full uniform, was in the dugout, like chirping at the Pirates on Thursday night from the top step. Like he is just a baseball player through and through. So that was cool to see. But so we're walking down there and I see him ahead of me and I go to Ben. I go, "That's Tom Crean." And he was like, "What do you mean?" I go, "That guy right there is Tom Crean." And he's walking towards me, and he walked by me. I said something like, "Hey, like what's up, buddy?" Or like, "What's up, bro? What's up, Tom? How are you?" And he, "Hey, how are you?" And he like gave me a fist bump, and I was just like, "Yeah, that's." I used to hate him at Indiana. I hated him. And
one of the guys who like goes on PMT, and this is like early PMT, like 2017, completely flips your opinion on him. Like just a great interview with those guys.
Yeah, like I really did not like him at Indiana, but again, and then I listened to him and I'm like, oh yeah, he's funny, but yeah, and saw Jack Harbaugh and all that. So, but that was cool. And again, I mean, you can walk around. The ballpark is awesome. It's really really cool. Again, it was a cold night that night, so that was a little tough, but we boozed up enough to get warm. Ended up meeting up with a couple of some of the beat reporters and had some drinks with them and. Had some talks with them about stuff. It was that was fun. Friday, and again, so when the Orioles aren't playing, when they are away, you can go to Ed Smith and they go to the backfields, and you can sit there. They have the 4 fields, and you can kind of sit in the middle and like look at every field and watch them practice. And that's what we did. We were commenting on how bad the music was. At one point, the Macarena was playing, like while Mountie and Kalzer were working on something. And Kalzer was talking to a coach, and he had his back to us. The coach did. And I was like, "Who is this guy?" I was like, I don't recognize him. I don't know who it is. And again, they all look the same because they're in, a sweatshirt and glasses and hat and all that stuff. And then after that, it was him. The only big league guys that were there were Jorge, Kalzer. We saw Eflin. Eflin is a monster. I didn't realize how massive Zach Eflin is. He is a large person.
Yeah, these comparisons that you were trying to push between yourself and him, I think we can.
No, it's a good 1.5 feet. Easy. Good 1.5 But again, it was Cedric. Jorge was hitting on another field. Who else? Mountcastle, Cowser, Westberg. That was all who we were watching on one field. And then when they were done, they came over and chatted a little. And I asked Colton, I go, how are you hitting? Like you were talking and doing, because you could see him kind of like doing the swing stuff. And I was like, how do you pay attention with the Macarena playing? And he was like, oh, I didn't even hear that. I was talking to Nick. And I was like, wait, who is that? And he was like, Markakis. And I was like, oh, now I feel like a fucking casual because I didn't even recognize Nick Markakis. But it's good. Again, if you got kids or if you want autographs or pictures or whatever, after the practice, they come around and it's perfect for that. Parking's free. Again, you can really see the backfields and like how cool it is. And we saw where Basayo's first monster home run he hit a couple nights ago. Saw where that landed. Like it's really a neat operation they have back there. So again, we did that, and that's when I talked to Ryan and Colton about the fightings and kind of picked their brain a little bit on that. And he was just like, I don't know. They sent a box to the clubhouse, which again, if you're fighting, why would you not? You're kind of probably holding on for dear life. It's little publicity is not going to hurt you. But yeah, I watched them do that. It is cool to see them do batting practice, and we must have watched Westberg take about 100 ground balls at second base, just smooth as butter, a robot. It was cool. So that was a fun time. Saturday was trying to remember. Saturday was the game against the Rays, and they lost. But again, it's even when you're out there, we ran into the Ryan Ripken boys, so that was always cool to see. They got Boogs. Boogs at Ed Smith is better than Boogs at the stadium. I'll say that.
You're famously a hater of Boogs at the stadium, so
yeah, I don't think Boogs is good at the stadium at all. It was really good down there. They had different food too, but it was good. Beers are cheap. The store is cool. The store is pretty cheap. They're not like it's not like I found T-shirts for little kids at the store for $75, and they were $40 here. So. But yeah, again, you're walking around and Elias is sitting right there. You can hear everything. You can see everything. We saw Skeens on Thursday night. So sitting up close for that was cool. But yeah, and then Saturday was, Saturday, we finally saw a win against the Twins, and, we saw a good third inning. I think they scored 3 runs without like an extra base hit. So that was awesome to see. And it was just good baseball. Again, if you go down there, go to all the games. They're cheap. The food's great down there. The drinks, the nightlife is awesome. We went out every night. Really, really fun. So it was, as you can see, I did not put on sunscreen.
Yeah.
And,
that's what you're doing.
But,
what was the thought process with not applying sunscreen?
So that was when we went to the practice on Friday, and we went to get lunch, and then we ended up being like, oh, we should just go to the practice now. And we just didn't have the sunscreen on us, and I was in a T-shirt and got roasted. So we also on Sunday we were standing behind the bullpen, so like behind where the catcher sets up, there's like a little like ramp to go down, and we saw Gary Sanchez came out to warm up Sagano. Sanchez is a monster too. He is huge. Like these guys are obviously much bigger than we always think, but he's a unit. He is a big dude. And then again, we were literally behind. It was almost like we were the umpire behind Sanchez. Watching Sagano throw, I said it to Ben and Street when we were there, and then O'Hearn said it after the game. He throws much harder than we thought. He was throwing so hard. It was either the pop from Sanchez's mitt, like it sounded like he had like an amplifier, like something, like they were pumping in sound. It was crazy how loud it was. So yeah, he throws harder than I think we thought. He looked great. We saw Uncle Chuck on Saturday. I think he struck out like 3 or 4, so he looked good. But again, if you want to get down there and talk to some of the players and get autographs and pictures. Oh, and Sunday, and then Rubenstein's walking around by himself. Like he, Ben and Street got a picture of him. I was talking to Jeff Arnold at the time. So I didn't meet him there, but later on, we're walking, and I see him coming up, and he passes me, and I stick my hand out, and I said, "Sir," and he shook my hand, and I said, thank you for bringing back the pandas to the zoo. And he kind of like laughed and he was like, yeah, you're welcome. Like he was not expecting that. He's heard a lot at the stadium. And
you'd practice that in the mirror as soon as that purchase was through. Yeah, that was, you've been waiting for that moment for a long time.
I did not know. I didn't, that just right off the top of the head, right off the dome piece. But
like JJ Watt talking about Andy Dalton with the little red rifle, the red rifle to the little Red Ryder BB gun.
You know me. Do I plan stuff out? Do I have these bits? Do you think I schedule things out like far ahead of time and then just have them happen?
Yeah, you're not a bit guy at all. You're not a schemer in any way, shape, or form.
I take my LeBron Hennessy down to the beach, and I that's all I do.
Yeah, it looks like I mean, based upon your activity on X, it looks like a great beach weekend for you. You're really out there taking in the sights and the sounds and smells of the beach offerings, of the Gulf of America.
Yeah, you know me. I'm all about that golf. But yeah, again, it was very fun. If you have not gone and are like on the fence about it, like I already want to go back for next year and go around this time. I think if you go early on, again, like I mean, we saw Skeens throw three and a third inning on Thursday night. Obviously, the later you go, the longer you're going to see some of these guys play. We saw Mountcastle take four at bats one night. Cowser was playing a lot. You're going to see a lot of the guys that you're going to see, and not a lot of the insurance salesmen that I was talking about earlier. But yeah, it's highly suggested. It was an awesome time. Ed Smith Stadium is awesome. They do a great job down there. And, again, I like recognize people that I was like, oh, they work at Camden Yards. Like I saw, I know she's like one of the ushers, and I saw fans that I've also recognized from the games too. So Pickles has to put something down there. Like that would be, I mean, that's a layup down there too. But yeah, again, great nightlife. We went out every night. A lot of fun bars and just overall a really, really, really good time. A lot of Mennonites down there. I thought they were Amish people. I was corrected by Andy Koska. They are Mennonites. I'm telling you, they were everywhere. They were Abraham Lincoln, Ezekiel, Jebediah's, everything. It was crazy. It was nuts all over.
What's the story there? Do they have industry?
No clue. I don't know why they were all down there, but they were Sarasota was crawling with Mennonites. So like we were walking in Siesta Key, past some nice beach restaurants, Jimmy Buffett playing or like a guy playing guitar outside. And like we'd walk by and like there's a Mennonite there, like a couple sitting like eating eating sandwiches like on this outside patio deck. Like it was like it'd be like going by Big Peckers in Ocean City and seeing like a bunch of like Amish people there. So it was something. Yeah.
You took that in a direction I was not expecting. I got to be 100% honest with you. Yeah, I've dealt with some, obviously Amish and Mennonite, not the same thing, but I dealt with some Amish people in my first job. And that was, I was young at that job. And that was when I learned that Amish people do in fact use phones. They do in fact drive like F-50s around. Those guys they're a little more modern than some people might think. And they're on top of their shit when it comes to fabrication and that type of work. So
we saw a lot of them. I didn't see any driving, but they were all on bikes. Everybody was on a bike. They were all biking around. But yeah, it was again awesome time. People are great down there. It was super fun, and I'm already itching to go back next year. I will put on sunscreen though.
Yeah, that would be good.
Guarantee that one. So yeah, I'm looking at a picture on Instagram, and Gunnar is wearing fightins too. So it's something with the house.
I feel like Gunnar is just kind of doing whatever those guys tell him to do. He's, you got the ringleaders and Colton and Adley just running around, causing havoc in the clubhouse, and Gunner's just like, yeah, whatever.
Pretty much.
Whatever y'all want to do.
Pretty much. I think so. Trying to think. I don't know. I think that's it. I think that's all I got.
Well, successful trip, it sounds like.
Yeah, it was fun. Didn't spend too much money. No hangovers, and it was a good time. Highly recommend. 10 out of 10. We'll do it again. We'll do it again. Say that.
Okay. So that's all we got for the show then.
I think so.
All right. Well, thank you all for hanging with us here tonight as we went through some of the spring training action, as we recapped RDT's trip down to Sarasota. We appreciate you all very much. We appreciate all our presenting sponsors, Jimmy's Famous Seafood chief among them, Black Eyed Susan Spices, Fed Thrill Sunglasses, Clipper City Barber Company, everyone in the mix. We appreciate you all. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe to us here on YouTube. Inching closer to that 3K subscriber mark. We'd appreciate it if you could help us hit that sooner rather than later. You can also find us on social media at Exit52 Podcast on Twitter. Same thing on Instagram. Find us at Jake Louque. That's LOUQUE RDT at EDITTI22. Spenny, who popped out at Ravens for Dummies. That is the number 4 in the middle. Find Taylor, who was hanging with us in the comments tonight on his commute back from work, at Taylor Smite 10, and Brian at Barstool Banks. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk again very, very soon.
See you.
Arrivederci.